The Walt Disney Company is facing a huge backlash, this time from a recent paper filed by American First Legal, an organization that says Disney is missing on many fronts, even going so far as claiming they're acting illegally. We'll explain it and go in depth with an attorney and a Hollywood expert right now. Hello folks, welcome back to the Pro Channel. It is a joy as always to have you here with us as we continue our journey explaining entertainment and keeping you ahead of the culture curve. Today we're taking a look at the claims made by American First Legal against Bob Iger and the rest of the Disney Company with the expertise of an attorney and a Hollywood expert. Folks, let's dive in. But that Park Place has a story that begins the journey because today we had major news coming out about Disney. And there's an organization which has been knocking at the door, right? Trying to crash the castle. And it is America First Legal. But it's not the first time that they have tangled with Two Shower Bob. So we got to go back in time. Here's the Wayback Machine as we venture into how things were going. Ron will rejoin us at this time. Here we go, folks. Legal analyst claims Disney is in deep trouble after America First Legal files EEOC complaint against or accusing company of discriminatory employment practices. This is by John Trent, and this was all the way back on February 16th. My, oh my, what a service that Park Place serves, and this is one of those cases. Legal analyst Andrew Esquire shared his expert opinion that he believes the Walt Disney Company is in deep trouble after the company was hit with an EEOC complaint by America First Legal. All right. America First Legal filed the complaint and requested a commissioner charge against the Walt Disney Company due to illegal employment practices of the Walt Disney Company and its subsidiaries in violation of Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Now, we only go to this article to say that this has been ongoing. This from February 16th. Before we go any further, Ron, when it comes to EEOC complaints from major organizations such as this, how serious is that for a corporation such as Disney?
It could be very serious. The EEOC has swerved back into the lane of credibility fairly recently after sort of having been locked up for a while in partisanship. And they could very well make Disney's life a living heck. But if they don't, I mean, that's not a big deal. It's not as if certainly it's great if you can get the government to do the work for you. But if America First has to do the work themselves, I think they'll know exactly what to do.
All right, well, let's get into what they are saying now because it is extensive and it is damning for Disney. So getting right back to where we are today, folks, we were in the Wayback Machine with that Park Place going back to February when this first began. But today, March 27th, we are going straight to America First Legal because we believe in blasting through the bias. So we'll go straight to the source. America First Legal sends letter to the board of directors of the Walt Disney Company alleging unlawful discrimination and misleading of shareholders. This breaking just yesterday. Unfortunately for America First Legal, or maybe fortunately, who knows, we had the acquiescing of Disney, the surrender of Disney to the state of Florida yesterday, which took all the headlines. And fair enough, it should have. We're talking about huge, vast sums of money that Disney will now be paying because they decided to weigh in on political issues in the Sunshine State. And when the light was shone upon Disney, things did not go well.
But you notice that they used the term sex quotas instead of gender quotas because they don't want to play into the concept of gender versus sex. But the idea of a sex quota, that's something I could sign on to, actually.
Sex quotas for all, Ron. Good job, America First Legal. You have set it in place. Sex quotas are here to stay. All right, folks, here's the quota for us, not sexual, but legal. We're going to get some pure knowledge out of this, elucidating what would we say here? Elucidating the superior knowledge of all after this experience. Here we go. Today, America First Legal sent a letter to the Walt Disney Company notifying the company's CEO, Two Shower Bob, the board of directors, and the management team of their alleged fiduciary duty breaches and federal securities law violations that have led to an approximate 40% drop in Disney's share value since February 2021. Now, Disney does not want you to think about that because Disney wants you to think everything is up, 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 up. They don't want you to remember that compared to where they were under Bob Chapek, it's not good. All right, let's get down into this eligibility criteria where it's talking about underrepresented groups. You're going to hear this quite a bit. Directors from traditionally underrepresented groups, including women, AAPI, Black, AA, Indigenous, Native, Hispanic, Latinx, Latin, I don't know. I speak Spanish. I don't even know what they're saying. MENA, SWANA, LGBTQIA+, disability identifying, and religiously marginalized. Those are the groups which are being recognized as underrepresented when Disney refers to them. So let's take a look at this. All Disney General Entertainment productions are required to comply with Disney DEI inclusion standards. Some of the standards explicitly provide that 50% of the following jobs must be filled by members of underrepresented groups. Again, these are the groups which must be 50% or more of your production for anything to count towards Disney liking you and keeping you on board.
What's religiously marginalized? What does that even mean?
And what is the subjectivity involved in determining that, Ron? I don't know the answer to that. I mean, which religions get involved and which sects of religions? And does this get down to the dogmas of which you believe? I have no idea. Well, let's move on. Here we go, folks. Here's the actual document. Here's the America First legal document where we are going to, and as we get into this, I want to bring in someone who has significant Hollywood experience and might be able to give us some thoughts on how this impacts the entertainment industry, because I think this goes beyond Disney. Folks, please welcome to the show again, your favorite L.W. Ghost. Welcome back, sir.
Well, you were talking about sexual quotas, and suddenly you said, "Come on in the show."
We mentioned sexual quotas, and the ghost arrives. I just
mentioned to Ron in the chat, I said, when you talk about what's a marginalized religion lately, it's ours. So
yeah, that sure as heck isn't what Disney was worrying about.
Well, I saw that list and I thought,
you're still not on the list.
I was thinking Al Jolson, Swana, how I love you, my dear old Swana. For all those categories, I don't know. Alphabet soup.
Let's get into this. What the actual paper says, the letter that was sent to Disney. It starts off with, and folks, we've covered this briefly on the show this morning. There's no way we can read the whole thing. It's a tremendously large document, but we're going to do our best to summarize. It begins with, Dear Mr. Iger and Mr. Parker, America First Legal Foundation is a national nonprofit organization working to protect the rule of law, due process, and equal protection for all Americans. We write to you in your capacity as Chief Executive Officer of the Walt Disney Company and Chairman of the Board of Directors, respectively, on behalf of the Walt Disney Company shareholders and customers to notify you of mismanagement, including but not limited to intentional violations of federal civil rights laws, breaches of fiduciary duty, and the wasting of company assets. It goes on to specifically criticize DEI programs. Let's get into the points that it makes. First of all, it says the board must ensure federal civil rights law compliance, which it says that is not happening. It says the board must maximize shareholder value, which clearly they allege is not happening. It says that Disney is engaged in intentional and systemic violations of civil rights laws. And in this portion, it mentions again the Disney race and sex quotas for board seats and bonuses. The bonuses here is a big, big deal for this. Ron, why does the bonus aspect of this perhaps rise to a different level when we're talking about race and sex quotas and monetary advancement?
The way you asked that question made it sound to me as if there's a specific answer you're expecting.
No. Feel free to go. I'm just. Is there a categorical difference when we begin to talk about people making more money based on sex and race?
Well, bonuses are discretionary. So that makes, I would, that's going to be a sort of slush fund for avoiding the kind of statistically rigorous analysis that you could do based on salary. The bonuses are, as I said, they're discretionary, and there's the quantity of bonuses awarded in a given range are going to be fewer. So it'll be harder to prove at least a prima facie case of discrimination based on bonuses. That when I say prima facie, I mean that doesn't mean that I can't get up and say, here are what all the, POC bonuses were, and here are what all the people of power bonuses were. And funny what a correlation there is between them. You can still say that. That would be my guess, that's where the action is.
Can I suggest when you go there to their website, which is, I guess, where this is, go look at the other cases they take. With all due respect and admiration for Elon Musk for taking on Gina Carano and for saying he'll help people who've been marginalized, these people are doing those kind of cases every single day. It ain't just about Disney with them. It's about all kinds of little people being taken advantage of for the wrong reasons. And if you go look at the length and extent of the cases they've taken, it's very, very impressive.
In specificity as to what they're saying here about race and sex quotas, it says Disney appears to consider prohibited characteristics like race and sex in its selection process for its board of directors. In 2020, Disney admitted that one criteria which the board evaluates new members is the extent to which the prospective nominee helps the board reflect the diversity of the company's shareholders, employees, customers, and guests, and the communities in which it operates. This method of evaluation has achieved the expected results. In 2020, only 3 of the directors were racially or ethnically diverse. In 2023, 6 out of the 12 hit that 50% quota for Disney. Just right on the money. How about that? It's almost as if it's synthetically achieved. Disney maintains illegal diversity, equity, inclusion quotas. We've talked about this in the past. We've talked about Reimagine Tomorrow. Lou, I want to go to you on this one because there's a particular caveat to this, and that is that in entertainment, it seems to me that you are allowed to cast based on race and sex and all of that, clearly. Where does the trouble lie in trying to achieve something across the entire company versus just one single production?
Well, obviously, it's, what do they call it at Disney? Face characters. If you say, well, we're hiring somebody who looks like a French general with a funny hat and an itch in his tummy, you're not going to hire Idris Elba to play Napoleon, or maybe you are nowadays. But it's a question of in front of the lens versus behind, mostly, or should be, or was.
And maybe it's not like Cleopatra, right?
Exactly. They made a black Cleopatra, and Cleopatra was Greek. But anyway, it's all Greek to me. I don't know.
All Greek to us as we.
And as I know, Ron will mention, if I don't beat him to it, because it's always a pleasure. California law and all this is even stricter and even stranger than federal and normal state laws, as we learned in the Gina Carano case.
Oh, yeah.
Because they've gone out of their way to try and protect against discrimination, really going back to the blacklist days, I guess it was. And, it's coming back to bite them here.
Moving right along, folks.
100%.
Go ahead. All right, moving right along, we've got Disney engages in illegal racial balancing. Again, these are allegations made by America First Legal, not by this channel. We're simply reporting on the news. It says Disney admits engaging in unlawful race and sex-based workforce balancing, and then it goes on to substantiate those claims to the best of its ability. It says it has unlawful contracting practices. It says the board has breached its fiduciary duties and committed waste. We won't go into that. It talks about the political or the politicalization of the Walt Disney Company, and it says that of particular interest here, it says management acknowledged that consumers, and this was a big one, by the way.
Yeah.
Lou, were you the one who discovered this and gave it to us?
Yes. And when they decided to tell everybody, hey, the fact that we're woke and we're doing all this stuff that most people don't like, it is a risk as far as making money is concerned, because the audience might not agree with us. Surprise.
I want to pause. I want to give this more diligence than we would have. And I want to pause here because that Park Place and the WDW Pro Channel and Valiant Renegade broke this. And the only reason we broke this story was because of Lou. Lou went into the original SEC filings, which are tedious and convoluted and not easily read. And Lou took the time to go through those when nobody else was looking in these things and pulled this out. And now here it is in this document. And I suspect that the chances of it ever having materialized here are only because someone like Lou put it into the news.
I will say it was hiding in plain sight. And, it was either that or the latest Robert Ludlum thriller, and these are more fun for some of us. What can I say? I was going to say Nancy Drew mystery, but I don't read those and never have. But the thing is, it's one thing to do all this stuff and say, hey, listen, just between us. It's another thing to proudly proclaim we are gloriful, wonderful people because we're being discriminatory. Ha, 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 ain't we swell? Which is what Disney does in all these documents. It's all in black and white. And by the way, what I think is really kind of wonderfully unique about this entire thing from them is how they tie the racial, sexual, discriminatory stuff to the money. The fact that it's not just bad, it's not just illegal, but it's hurting stockholders and costing the company income. And of course, that all dovetails right into the whole Peltz thing.
Yes. So here's what was brought out by Lou so many months ago. Disney cautions its forward-looking statements by suggesting that the political environment is outside the company's control. This came, by the way, from an SEC filing. And again, that SEC filing is what Lou went through and found this. And it's not as if this was the headline. It says in its most recent Form 10-K, management acknowledged that consumers' perceptions of our position on matters of public interest, including our efforts to achieve certain of our environmental and social goals, which, by the way, I know corporations are into this, but your goal at Disney, if it's an environmental goal, is to take care of your parks, and your social goal is to make sure everybody has a good time and families like you, often differ wildly and present risks to our reputation and brand.
And by the way, the fact that they had to say reputation, not just, well, they might not like a certain movie, but they might dislike the entire company because of it. And the result is that theater owner that you knew, Pro, who said that people were calling his theater to ask, is this movie safe, about a Disney movie, something they never thought they'd imagine happening.
Yes, absolutely. In the DEI risks, the Disney Form 10-K states, U.S. and international regulators, investors, and other stakeholders are increasingly focused on environmental, social, and governance matters. For example, new domestic and international laws and regulations relating to environmental, social, and governance matters, including environmental sustainability and climate change, human capital management, and cybersecurity, are under consideration or being adopted, which may include specific target-driven disclosure requirements or obligations. Our response will require increased cost to comply. Basically, down here it says, there is no disclosure of the patent, legal, and economic risks created by the company's DEI programs. But in contrast, other companies disclose such risks. For example, and it gives an example of another corporation, Yum Brands.
Which is Taco Bell and KFC and all of those once owned by Pepsi, but spun off to be Yum Brands chain fast food places. That's what Yum Brands is.
Now, Ron, this is where I need you to weigh in for me, please. It says, accordingly, it appears that the board and management have intentionally failed to properly disclose the risks of their ESG and DEI policies as required under applicable Delaware and federal laws and regulations, harming shareholders and exposing the company to substantial litigation and regulatory risks. Now, Ron, this is rhetoric for me, but for the audience, many of them out there are just getting involved in understanding what Disney is up to and how corporations work in this level. Ron, can you explain why Disney would be located in Delaware?
Delaware, in fact, no one has done more to educate the public about this topic than Elon Musk. Delaware has, for my entire lifetime, which, as most of you realize, is pretty much all of recorded history. With all due respect to Lou Wasserman himself, who would be 174 today.
Something like that.
Yeah. Has been, until fairly recently, one of the states of choice for corporations to choose as their technical home of their technical corporate home. It has very permissive laws with respect to allowing corporations to do pretty much whatever they want to do as a matter of corporate governance. And because of that, it has developed over the last 50 years or so a very sophisticated judiciary in the Chancery Division there, which decides a lot of corporate legal issues and a lot of leverage a lot of litigation arising from securities law. What happened to Elon Musk is one of the things that I think is going to challenge that. And there are other states historically over the last 150 years, states have competed with each other to be the most permissive state possible. It used to be New York, used to be Pennsylvania. As progressive forces become more and more influential, they put more and more restrictions on corporations. Nevada is now a very popular state for incorporation. So that's the answer to your kind of corporate law 101 question there.
Right, because some people are going to see Disney in Delaware and they just don't understand what that is. So we know that Disney's headquarters are in Southern California, but they are listed in Delaware in terms of
corporate domicile. Is that the word they use? Something like that.
Yeah. Well, Delaware has been for a very long time a magic kingdom for corporate.
Well played, sir. Well played. I want to go back now, if it's okay with everybody, to the America First Legal, because there's a part of this we didn't get to that's so important. And I think our panelists will have so much to say. After that, we're going to go to Super Chats. By the way, folks, we've got bonus member chats for our YouTube members at the level 2 and higher tiers of memberships. And we've got Patreon chats coming. So here's what we've got. Again, this is from American First Legal. This is the major letter that they dropped today ahead of the lawsuit that Blackwell's filed against Disney today. Man, everything just gets hotter and hotter. Dang it, it's hot. Folks, fill the chat with dang it, it's hot emojis. It's the time.
You know, Culture Casino keeps doing these videos about, well, Disney got sued again. He can't keep up with this. Two in a day. I mean.
There you go again. All right, this is so important. We can't miss it out. We'll come back to this document again in the future, but for today, this is where we'll have to drop it. But this is so important. Politicized content aimed at indoctrinating young children is the title of it. Can you believe that this is an illegal document? Can you believe this is an illegal document? It says
somebody had to call it out eventually, right?
Somebody did, and they did indeed. Disney describes its Disney Plus streaming service as primarily offering, quote, general entertainment and family programming, unquote. However, the Disney Plus catalog includes unnecessarily controversial and politicized content that is demonstratively misaligned with the company's core consumers. Disney Plus profiles in junior mode, a setting designed to only show content that is appropriate for all ages, hides many classic Disney films, but includes controversial content consistent with the company's extreme social and political agenda. Stop. Let's get the commentary just on that. Panel. And particularly, we'll start with Kara.
I'm just learning of all this. This is so spicy.
You know this, though. You know this part, though. Disney, when you switch it into kid mode, right? So it's safe for kids. They hide the stuff that Walt made, the stuff that we all agree has been appropriate for 60, 70, 80 years.
Now.
That's crazy.
Kara, how crazy is it for a company?
Problematic.
How problem is it for a company to cut out its own foundation, though?
It's pathetic.
But it's what they put there instead. I didn't realize they were putting Black Power fists and
Proud Family, my friend.
And
Proud Family was insane.
Yeah.
That's the heaviest-handed propaganda I've ever seen.
Right, yeah. Louder but prouder. Correct, Kara.
Yes. Old Proud Family was good. New Proud Family.
The Old Proud Family.
Yes. I loved the Old Proud Family. I used to watch it all the time.
Oscar was my guy.
Yes.
Kara, there are those who say that we hate the Disney company, right? You and Spencer, and guess what? Me. We all love the original Proud Family. That we like Disney. We don't like Bob Iger Company. The Bob Iger Company sucks. The Walt Disney Company was great. We don't understand why it had to go away. And that's the problem. Well, hiding Walt's stuff sucks.
It's Walt right.
There's another part about this, though, Pro. This came after the stuff we were looking at before, right? In this letter, in this document. Because the other part, well, when you in this one, when you were talking about that thing that I found, everybody could find it.
Yes, this is further down in the document.
Okay, so my point is that was a statement in their annual or their quarterly report to the SEC that they are obligated by law to give, where they had to say, some of these opinions we had that we're putting in our stuff might alienate the audience because they might not like them. It's one thing to say it might not. What this part says is, we want to, and we're proud of it, and we're going to stick it in your face no matter what. So there. And that is why these folks at America's Legal are so brilliant to tie all this together with the idea that shareholders are being hurt and investors are being hurt and people who expect them to be doing something to make money, it's one thing for them to say, not everybody loves everything we do, and that's just the nature of the beast. It's another thing to say, we know they don't like it, and we're doing it anyway, big time. And the proof is that they're hiding things. You don't hide stuff unless you know damn well it's going to be a problem. So...
So to get to the old Disney
faith.
stuff, do you have to go into like an adult account and then like navigate over to like animation? Because I don't have
so
Disney
Spencer-
Plus.
I don't either, and never have.
That's a
and never
great
will.
question, Spencer. You go to the grown-up account, right? And then
Right.
all of the legacy Disney content is there, or at least everything that's on Disney Plus.
Yeah,
If you click on that, it puts a disclaimer up and tells you that it's an awful, terrible thing that was wrong then and it's wrong now, and yada yada yada. And it maligns the masterpieces that Walt Disney, the man, the founder, created. And I don't see how you can separate those out. So if you think that Walt himself created terrible ist and phobe kind of content, how can you say that without saying that he's an istinophobe?
Right.
And that's why I think this is all on a timeline.
If
and eventually
they were honest,
they're going to
they'd
remove
change
him.
the name of the company. If they were honest, they would lose the name Disney and call it the Amalgamated Intellectual Woke Folks
Mickey
of the
Inc. or
Universe.
something like that's what it'll be. Mickey Mouse Inc.
Mikhail.
Mikhail Inc.
Comrade Mickey.
Comrade
Anyway.
Mickey LLC.
Well, let's continue on with Bob and Co. Here is the
Gingerbread person.
exactly. When we get to a legal document that brings up Rachel Zegler, it's a good day.
Woo!
So here we go, folks. Weird. Disney has also already faced backlash stemming from its upcoming live-action remake of Snow White, which stars an actress of Colombian descent as the titular character who is called such because her skin is as white as snow. Folks, that's not setting up a hierarchy of white skin is better than dark skin or brown skin.
Exactly.
No.
It's just descriptive.
Yes, and it's because in Germany during that time period, having light-colored skin meant that you stayed indoors, and you couldn't do that unless you were flat-out nobility. So it is an indicator of her royal lineage. That's why she's called Snow White. Anyway, in this upcoming version, Disney initially appeared to replace its dwarf characters with 7 racially diverse men and women actors without dwarfism, because Disney is a company that believes in exclusion. Get out of here, you dwarfs! At first, Disney initially commented, to avoid reinforcing stereotypes for the original animated film, we'll remove dwarfs and never let them work in Hollywood again. No, that's not what it says. It's what they meant. Was taking a different approach with these.
You got to take off your "they live" glasses, Pro. You're seeing the truth too much.
Disney also appears to have heard the criticism and has since released an image with Snow White surrounded by 7 dwarfs, each with cartoonish features and still named after the animated counterparts. And I would say, folks, that they're animated CGI dwarfs. They're still not real. They still kicked the people with dwarfism to the curb and said, "You're not allowed in our diner. Get out of here, you dirty dwarfs." How offensive.
No
Disney
matter
appears
what
to
they
be
do,
They don't
they're bound
exist,
and
but we're-
determined to
they
make
don't
Peter
exist.
Dinklage angry.
Yes.
What are you saying, Kara?
I understood both of
I
those.
said they
I'm
don't
sorry.
exist, but we're not going to acknowledge that they do actually exist.
I'm laughing because I didn't ever put that together, Pro. Like, yeah, we still said "get out of here, dwarfs," but like watch them cast the most like Hollywood perfect looking people, or like attractive
the
people
voice.
in those roles. Like you're gonna get like Jason Momoa, you're gonna get like Sydney
As a
Sweeney,
dwarf.
and then it's gonna be like, yeah,
I
representation.
did not think of that, Spencer. That is great. So you could hire someone with actual dwarfism to play the dwarfs, and instead we'll get in there and it'll be like Tom Hiddleston as
Right,
Grumpy.
exactly.
Idris
I
Elba.
can hear
100.
I can hear
Both
the
of those,
phone call
both
now.
of those, 100%. I would put money on both
I
of
can
those.
hear the phone call now. They're calling Peter Jackson down under. And you know that forced perspective thing you did to make Gandalf look bigger? Do you think that would work with Jason Momoa and The Rock to make them look smaller?
Oh man.
Just
Tell
do
us how
the,
to do that. That was great.
do that really terrifying technology they did for like Chris Evans in Captain America when they put him on the skinny body. Just do that with like
Yes.
their faces and put them on dwarfs.
That is tremendous. All right. Well, folks, we're about to get to super chats and then to bonus member chats as well as Patreon chats. Before we do all of that, Spencer, I wanted to let you know that before you came on, and you were probably listening in, we talked about this article you have on bounding into comics. I did not proposition you for this to become made manifest. Nobody from that Park Place reached out that I'm aware
not.
of.
Nope.
Of your own volition. But Spencer, just and again, you're not speaking.
Right? Isn't that
money.
insane? I didn't have funds coming in from underneath
and they
the
they
table.
Didn't pay him for being a key witness in the Gina Carano suit either. My God,
I know.
This happy hate. Okay, Disney, I'm out. I hear you. I'm calling you out.
So Spencer, what I'd like to get your take on from that article is, so you're not speaking on behalf of the channel. You're a third party to this, but Spencer, could you give us your third party analysis of what did you think when you heard that?
He doesn't know. He doesn't know, Pro. We're not calling them by their name because we.
I know that part. I know that.
So
part.
we're calling them
Voldemort.
We're calling them
Let me
Voldemort.
explain that. Let me explain. So I didn't explain it earlier. Let me explain. The reason that I don't believe we should use that name any longer. Folks, imagine if I said that I'm starting a company and it's going to be Blue Avatar YouTubers, and that's the name of the company. Then anytime I put out a statement that says Blue Avatar YouTuber says, it sounds like I'm speaking on behalf of far more people than are actually involved with me. So I don't like company names that give the connotation that they speak on behalf of an entire group.
Which is why I
don't like it. Right.
Which
and I don't like that. So with that said, Spencer,
as
what
a
were your
fan
thoughts?
of Kinky Friedman and the Texas Jew Boys, I agree with you.
You win, Lou. You win the day.
You were worried about our channel getting taken down for Voldemort?
No, that's it, folks. It's over. See ya. The mainstream media just can't understand how it is we continue. Folks, we'll stay with it. All right, Spencer.
Yes. Question.
Thoughts when the story landed, this idea that these video game consultation firms might be able to end coverage in some way.
Right. So, again, guys, like Pro said, I'm speaking completely as an individual, not as a representative of Bounding, not as anybody, not as a contributor or friend of that Park Place, definitely not in any legal capacity. So with that out of the way, when I saw the story drop, I will admit that I was a bit surprised because, obviously we all know John used to work with me over at Bounding and he regularly ran headlines that were similar to this. We are very careful about using hedging language, right? Like allegedly appears such and such. So when I saw that somebody was actually going to take some sort of action on an article, I was very surprised. Upon looking at it, I don't think that, there's two realms here. I think there is not exactly a case, but I think they can make a headache for you just because we all know how legalese goes. So even if John and Pro and everybody are completely in the right, I can definitely see, legal back ending, getting in picking out a word here, choosing a word there. We all know how these things can go. Unfortunately, that's how our legal system is. In the larger scheme of things, I don't think there's anything really actionable that they can do to you guys because John did use the hedging language. But to that end, I also think one of the things, obviously they're never going to be able to stop coverage. The entire thing that's where they were like, anybody who shares this is going to get legal, what's the term? Like you're going to get served, you're going to get a notice or whatever. I genuinely don't know how that even works. That just seems like they were trying to scare you guys, but you can't stop coverage of this because this is still going to be public news, right? Like it's the Streisand effect all over again. It's the exact same thing that happened with Sweet Baby Ink Detected. They launched legal action against you guys. And now people like Mark Kern, people like Bounding, we're all spreading the news because now it's a story. So now you're getting more people to realize and wake up. So even if, again, devil's advocate, you go to court, this goes all the way, and they say, oh yeah, that Park Place was wrong. They don't, according to what they laid out, there's no evidence here for racial discrimination. As you guys were pointing out before I joined on, there's a lot of stuff in their, what do you want to call it? Their materials, I guess, their operations manuals, guides, all that sort of stuff that isn't going to like work out favorably for them. You know, one of the things I saw commented on the Bounding article was this isn't going to make it past Discovery, and it's not. But I kind of want it to go to Discovery. I know it would cause a headache, but imagine what we're going to get out of Voldemort should this actually go. At this point, they're just going to blow up their reputation for a legal win. If that, again, I don't think this is even actually going to go anywhere. I'm not privy to the actual filings. I haven't talked to Ron or you or anybody on this matter. This is literally the first time I'm vocally speaking out loud on it. So yeah, I think it is empty. I think it's, or not empty, but I think it's doesn't have a lot of substance. But like with all legal things, it could make a headache, and that's the part I don't know how, I don't know when. I just know like, I
don't know how, I don't know when, but I sense legal's coming again.
Can I make one suggestion to everybody here and in the
Please,
chat
Lou,
and everywhere
please.
else?
Of course, Lou.
When we wipe the floor with them, and when
Lou
they
is
are
speaking on his own behalf again.
when they are
He's
driven
not privy to
back
any
into
insider information.
please make fun of them. Please laugh.
I cannot
at them.
encourage this.
The best thing you can do to a bully, because they aren't about us, they're about scaring other people into shutting up and sitting down and taking it. The best thing you can do to a bully is make them look ridiculous and laugh at them. Being angry at them doesn't get you anywhere, but making them patently ridiculous gets you everywhere, because they can't fight back against that, because the answer is yes, they are ridiculous. They're hilarious.
And we have reached the end. We hope that just like that document, you have assessed that this video as well has at least the appearance of merit. Folks, if you agree, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms, it's the notification bell, and drop a comment down below. Folks, as we always say, and we mean it, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.